え、まさかの、放送されない？まさかの放送されない。そんなことあります？ないやろ、さすがに。とりあえず18分間待つか。始まりはわかんだろ。フロアの整理でもするか。で、あれ長そう。いやー、やっぱ久しぶりに聞くとね、紙曲だと認識してね、何度でも聞いちゃうよね。やはり D4 は神ゲー。やっぱできなくなったよな。ゲーム内で見るの？いや、ゲーム内見れたもんじゃなくない？できれば配信で見たいんだけどさ、見れそうになかったらちょっとゲーム内覗いてみて、多分ガクガクでやってらんないっつって終わると思うわ。あれ、リピート YouTube できなくなってる、まさかの。マジ？起きた。でも絵師からフォローされたの何なんだろう。 めっちゃ重い。スチームだこれ。ベースボールドッグだ。ドタ2民はフォローを仕返しておこうという傾向。いや、フォローをあれしようと思って、整理しようかなと思って。この人壁つべでやってんだ。みんな壁つべだよね。なんであんなわけのわかんないところでやるのか。すげえ。ああ、そういうことか。公式の日本語実況やるのかと思ったわ。その話聞いてねえと思った。
842番さん。2個性、なんでみんなわけわかんないところでやるのか。壁つべ、なんでみんなわけわかんないところでやるのか。ピアカス、なんでみんなわけわかんないところでやるのか。
始まってるんだけど、シークレットの試合が僕は見たいんですけど、こっちの方いかが、どうなっているでしょうかね、今。こっちの方いかがお過ごしでしょうか。いかがお過ごしでしょうか。
したらば843番さん。
なんじゃんでもなんで。
大切にジャン猫呼んで実況しよう。したらば844番さん。僕らのシークレットの試合はシークレットになってしまうのか。
やだよー。スワンさん俺フォローしてねえでやんの。マルスマンもフォローしてんし。ヘボール部の人からフォローされてる。あ、いろりじゃん。 LOD2 縛りプレイヤーか。なんだよこれ。
したらば845番さん。いろり先生は FPS
いろり先生
だからこび打っとくように。
いろり先生は BF の頃からの知り合いだから。知り合い？うん、知り合いだから。いろりやーんって感じだから。最近めっきりだけどな。
したらば846番さん。
なんかゲームスパークから殺されてんの俺。
読まれたの？
黒っぽいダーティーすごいやってるね。あいつすげえがっつりやってるよ。どうタイミング好きねあいつ。25ででも。あいつ忙しいんじゃない仕事。あいつもハトモップ系なんだろうな。3D マークとかやってら。これあれでしょだって。3D エンジンでしょ。ああ。
したらば847番さん。MOAIME が一番上に出てくるのやめろ。
ドタ2フォローしつつのもうそろそろ良いのでは。始まらねえかな。ロシアンしかないの。いやロシアン激しいロシアンスパム。いやロシアンでもいいからあればいい俺は。なんでロシアしかない。まあちょっと待つか。一戦だけだよ見るのでもお前ら。さすがにね、明日も早いんで、ちょっときついっすね。昨日ちょっと見たんだけどさ、ワイルドカード。今日きついんだな。きつやった。正文さんってどこの蔵の人だったよね。どこの蔵の人だっけな。まあいいや。とりあえずドタ関係のことつぶやいてたら、やっておくって。
したらば848番さん。 グループ A でストリームやるっぽいね。公式のストリーム3で始まる。
公式のストリーム 3？ Twitch で見る？ Twitch クソって聞いたんだよね。Twitch クリックして、なんかどうすりゃいいんだろうな。こんなんあれか。これドタで、クリックしたらトップ3それやろ。そう、いっぱいあるよ、俺。みんなフナティック見るんだ。そりゃそうだよな。あのカード見るよな、みんな。そりゃそうだよ。3、
さら
3。
ば849番さん。画面下の方に 1.2.3 って並んでるから、左下で4つべ選ぶ。
マジで。ありがとう。嘘なくない？どれ？あ、なんか出てきた。いや、なかったんだ、さっき。What？ あ、そういうことか。はい。Thank you。助かったわ。で、始まると出てくるんだ。そういうことね。助かったわ。困ってた。よし。いや、実は言うと誰かと見たかったんだけどさ、今日エリーもいねえしさ。
URL。
どうも。エリーもいねえしさ、一緒に見る人って誰かいるかなみたいな。エリー中でやってんのかな？誰もいなさそうって感じで。解説のエリーさん呼ぶ？
したらば851番さん。お前配信してるのにそういうって言おうとしたけどお前の情弱は今に始まってなかった。
さっき帰ってきたばっかりなんです。見るよ。寄せとこ。アピしとこ。
User was moved to your channel.
アピしとこ。
Microphone activated.
何今試合してんの？
何？
マイクすげえこもってるけど、今試合してんの？
よいしょ。いや、してないよ。だってドタ2ネットワークロストしてるもん。
だから今グダって、昨日グダってたんだ。てか今1時かちょうど。
なんだよ。
この3つだったらフナティックとシークレットやろ。
当たり前やろ。
なんでさ
俺は見てるけどな、
メインチャンネルがさ、C9 となんだっけ、LD。あそこも熱いか。熱いっちゃ熱いか。
いや、っていうか、普通に、
上
見分け
から順番
順にただ並ぶだけだから、上が1で下が2で
そうなんだ。別に、そっか。
その下が3っていうだけであって。
日本語配信とかもさ、スタートインマイナス1時間59分とかもこれですわ。
何？
ドタの公式で見てるんだけどさ、公式っていうかなんて言うんだろうな。公式サイトに貼り付けてあるやつで見てるんだけど、時間カウントダウンされてるんだけど、マイナス1時間59分39秒ってなってる。これだから外人はよ。C9 と LGD どっち勝つと思う？
いない。
だよな。LGD、ちょっと微妙になったよな、4あたりから。3は強かった覚えはあるけど。オーバービューでいいんだっけ？あともう一つどこやんの？あれライブで下の方を見りゃいいんだっけな。これどこだっけ？ビュールールズ。違うの。リプレイ。
バイオくん。
はい。
バイオくんにはいいものを見せてあげるよ。
何？出たけどなんかあんの？もっと見やすいの。
これかな？
すげえコリア語になったんだけど。
すぐ。
なんかこんなんあんだ。
これマジクソインバだから。
下に映ってんのこれ何なの？別のなんかやってる人。
他のやつ一回見てみたらいいよ。
どういうこと？
バイオ。他のチャンネル下のプリングミーポとか書いてあるとこあるじゃん。
でも Steam クライアント機能してませんって言われた。これ何？あれで見た方がいいの？ Steam で。
いや、普通に俺ゲームで、ブラウザで見てるけど。これマジ
お
ね、す
使いのウ
ごいから。
ェブブラウザはこのブロードキャストを視聴する必要最低限の機能をサポートしていません。
何で見てんだよ。
Google Chrome。
オーマイが俺見れてるんだけど。
これ言ってたやつか。すげえ見て。
これ例のやつだよ。
なんつうだろう。で、スチームから多分見ればいけるよな、これ。スチームの URL 入力謎なんだけどな。どうすればいいんだろうな。
なんで見れないん君。
貼り
これインバやで、インバ。
貼り付けとかでいけるんだっけこれ。無理だな。どうやんだっけ。スチームから見たいな。めっちゃいい。それ超見て。前々から言われてたやつだよな、それ。
そうだよ。
これなんで見れねえんだろう。スタッツ。スチームクライアント内からとか。OK。あ、スチームで見れる。あれでも普通だ、これで見ると。これで見るとただのスチーム配信だ。なんでやねん。Fuck you。
なんで見れないん君。ヌーブなん？
ちょっと、すげえそれで見たい。
インバやで、インバ。せっかく貼ってあげたのにこれですわ。
どうすりゃいいんだろうな。これなんか見方が書いてねえのかムカつくわ。
いや普通にだって開いたら見れるもん。
Firefox だからだ、俺。かな。
なんでクロームじゃないの？
Chrome やめちゃった、重いから。
なんで Firefox で見れないの？俺見てやろうか？
Firefox 見てみて。俺今ちょっと Chrome 持ってくるわ。
後で、Firefox で、ごめん、俺 Firefox、見れねえわ。
無理だよね。
Chrome だったら見れるよ。
今 Chrome 持ってくるわ。Chrome 重いんで今。
知らねえよ、ザコ。
Chrome だって俺変なページいっぱいポンって出てくるようになったからやめちゃったの。
したらば852番
出てこないから。
URL こっちにも残して。ちょっ
こっちにも
と待ってね。
したらば853
それ Firefox よね。正論な。
ふざけんなよ、お前 Google Chrome って言ってから悩んでる
Google
Firefox だからじゃねえかよ。
リスナーマジクエスチョンマークだから、Firefox を使いこなそうとか書いてあるから。
お前なしたらば855番さん。ブラウザ機能付けの広告ソフトの Chrome 使っちゃう？
来た。チャット邪魔なんだけど。とりあえずミーポ見るか。
これミーポのやつ見たら面白いよ。
裏のやつ消そう。
ミーポのやつ終わっちゃったわ、試合。
あら。本当だ、終わっちゃってる。他の見るか。すごいね、これ。
Чтобы шейкеры и вот расходились.
なんじゃこりゃ。
じゃあ見やすいやろ。何分に何買ったかまで見れるからな、これ。
俺でも下見切れちゃってる。あ、これスクロールできるのか、別に。これマップ見れるのいいね。
何分に何買ったかまで見れるからね。
どこで見れるの？すげえ。
黄色のとこクリックしたら、
黄色のとこクリックすげえ。
下の方までスクロールしていくと何分に何買ったかまで見れるよ。
トラックヒア。はい、すいませんでした。調整中です今。はい。こっちもか。はい。ほんとだ。スキルビルドとかアイテムビルドまでわかる。
3番見なきゃ3番。
これは何？そうか、スチームブロードキャストで、どういうことこれ？
したらば857番さん。チャット消すときは右上の矢印をクリック。
右上の矢
ちょっとだけ離
印。
席する。
はい。消えた、ほんとだ。ちょっと待って。これさ、俺の、解像度にあったよ、解像度に。
Его,
でかす
его.
ぎんね。もうちょいこううまくできんのこれ。こうか。あ、これスタッツがでかすぎるやろ。もっとこう微調整できないの？解像度が合ってるのか知らないけどさ、ここがでかすぎるんで、ここが。まあ単純に解像度をもっとでかくすればいいんだろうけど、俺の。それと配信向けじゃなくなっちゃうからな。まああくまでベータってところか、それは。ちょっとこれだとすげえやりづらいから。チャットを出さないと。解像度と合ってなさすぎる。スチームブロードキャストと紐付けして、すげえな、これ。バカじゃねえの。なんだこれ。とんでもねえな。とんでもねえことやってるぞ、これ。こりゃすげえな。は
インバやインバ。
あ。これはすごいよ。別にこんなクソ配信者の別にさ、野良試合なんてどうでもいいけどさ、
4.13, да, просто.
この機能がいいんでしょ。
ДД.
そうそうそう、いや、プロとか大会の配信とか見るの、これ楽しすぎるでしょ。これでもさ、この、下の幅とかを設定できないのは、まあ、ベータだからしょうがないんだけど、マジクソだと思うわ。すげえやりづらい。チャット欄消すとなんか、画面が、
Отлично.
配信画面がでかすぎて、わけわからんなる。
画面なんか消せるのこれ。
チャット画面、矢印があるじゃん。なんだろう、Dota2 ライブストリーミングベータの右に、ね、矢印あるじゃん。それを押すと消える。
あ、下が見えなくなるやんだって。
そうそうそう、下全然見えなくなる。これ仕様だよね、多分。だから、襟もなるよね、見えなく。
なるよ。大丈夫、
でね
俺も見えない。
だからそれはクソ、マジ、ゴミクソだから、その辺は、なんだろう。
まずね、ここを見るにはね、タスクバーを隠すっていうボタンをね、チェック入れるとこから始まるから。
どうで、タスクを隠すとかあんの？あ、そういうことか。要するに、あれでしょ下の、あれか、
段そこ
タスクは、
邪魔だからタスクバー隠すから。
そう、俺はデフォ消しだから気にならなかったけど、つけてる人は、全然見えないだろうね。まあ、ベータ段階だからしょうがないけど、そういうところ解消されれば、すごくいいと思うね。
バーやで。
要するにこれあれでしょスチームブロードキャストはスチームの ID を使ってやってるわけだから、それを調べて、今こいつがどの試合やってるかってことで、持ってきてるわけでしょ。これマジですごいよ。
なんか謎の技術。
ねえ。割とマップの更新間隔もさ、頻繁だし、これ。うん。違和感ないからな。
Давай, давай.
これ感染、要するに TI 見たこれで。昨日、ワイルドカードとか。
見たよ。
これ
どこで見て
全キャラ映んのマップに。
来るよ。
あ、それすごいいいな。それはいいと思うわ。配信見てるとさ、片側しか映んないからちょっとぎこちないというかなんか、あれだけど、それそうだよな。スペック見てるのでやると、
片っぽ見たってしょうがねえじゃねえ
そう
か。
そうそうそうそうそう。
全
ちゃんと
全世界見える。
いやーこれ全部見れるのってすごいよそれ。ね実況者が楽。いや、いちいちさ、グラフとか映すとめんどくせえんだよ。
いやでもインゲームのグラフも出るよ。自分でもいじれるけど、
インゲーム、だからこのグラフとか出るってことでしょ？出せる。
ゲーム内の画面に、
うん
そのブラウザのストリーミングしてるとこに出はするけど、
うん
別に
Нам
他の
нужно
とこでやっ
просто
て
подождать
もらえれば
минуту
わかるけど、
сейчас
どういうこと？
до шейкера и пойти скушать хотя бы.
まあでも勝手にだから自分でグラフ見たいときとかどっち買ってんのかとか見たいときは勝手に自分で見れるんでしょこれリスナーが。要は
そうそう。でも普通にノラで配信してる人
うん
とかは
なんか出てんじゃんノラのやつもつうかグラフ
敵のは出ないじゃん。でも
敵のは出ない。ああこれ
敵のチームのネットワースって出ないんだよ。味方チームのネットワース
ああ
だけは出る
そっかこれそっか自分のチームがこれどういうこと？
自分のチームが
自分のチーム
だから
が
結局その放送してる人はスペクテート席にいるから、
はいはいはい。これ、要するにあれか、今ゴールドとか見ると、その集団戦でなんか、2000失ったよとかしか出ないってわけか。これ、差とかじゃなくて何かの。
いやでもネットワースとかはその辺は普通に出るよ。
そうだよね。これ、要するにダイヤが今勝ってるとこだよな。だよね。へえ。それいいね、じゃあ。何これ、ファーム、ディストリ、なこれ、株価見て。
何それ、そんなのあんの？
なんかあるよ。その、スタッツあるじゃん。
あ
下の、スタッツをして、XP ゴールドってあって、下にファームなんたらって言ったら、ジャングル、トップ、ミッドレーン、ボトムレーンとかある。なこれ。
2つ押して、あ、これか。
これトップレーン同士の差とかかな。なんだろうこれ。でも、ジャングルを効率よく使えてるかとかかな。
ロボット。
か、あれかな、そのなんだろう。ミッドレーンのクリップを開いて、突っ込んでって、で、どっちの方がラストヒット取ってるみたいな。
かもね。
そっちの方かもな、これ。
わかんねえけど、ジャングルはマイナスなのはわかるわ。
ジャングルはマイナス。
これ
そう
プレイヤーで敵んとこさ、クリックするとさ、なんか、うえって言うんだけど、敵ヒーロークリックすると。
本当だ、ピポピポっていう。これ何の時の音だっけ？いけないところ行った、クリックしまくった時の音だっけこれ。なんか、
いや違う
ドタ内でもあったよね。
なんか、なんだっけな。何の音だっけな、なんかヘックス食らった音みたい。
ヘックスだっけ？ヘックスパコンみたいな音だった気がするけどな。
いや、ヘックスででって言うから。わかんない。
リスナー何この音？
したらば859
ドラフト始まったよ。
番さん
すいませんでした。
ドラフト始まったよ。
これで見るとせっかくなら。いやでもさ、配信的にはこれちょっと見づらいか。ちょっと両方、始まってないけど。
あれ、ドラフトって。まだじゃねえかよ。詐欺か？
これなんかブラウザ見てるよね。
ツイッチ見てる、昨日のワイルドカード見てない？
でもなんかドラフトってとこにクリックすると、なんかピックマン進んでない？
したらば860番さん。エセリアルのやつを殴ろうとしたとき。
エセリアルのやつを殴ろうとしたとき、大体合ってる気がする。
あ、いや、それで合ってるわ。
うんだ。要するになんか、不可能なんだろうね。いけないところでもなるんじゃない？だから。
始まったやん。
始まりましたね。
出たな、がサイレン。
長サイレン？出てる長サイレン。シグレット使うんだ。シャドウフィエンドバンしてダズルもバンか。
昨日のワイルドカードのダズルマジでうまかったからね。
マジでうまかったね。
ベガのマジでね、あいつは本当にうまかったよ。
MVP よく勝ったと思うわ。
MVP マーチさんこれ終わったら徴兵だから。選手になりに行くからマーチさん。
優勝すれば免除なんちゃうん。金払って。
いやもう本戦出動しただけでだって680万ぐらいでしょ
ね。
それだけもらって満足やろ。
ほんとそれな。負けでもいいからな。全負けでもいいからな、マジで。金だけに関しては。ジャイロ取らないなら取りまーす。ガクねちょっとスチームやっぱり。なんか時々止まるの俺だけ？
全然止まんないから。
あ、マジ？
打点回線？
ピタッて止まってビクッて動かない？
いや
ファック。根本的に右側からしか音が聞こえないけど。
俺も右側からしか聞こえないけどスピーカーだからいいやと思いながら見てるんです。
カスかよ、
したらば
TI。
861番さん。定期的にチャットでミュートされてるアホいる。
レフトイヤーからしか聞こえないぞっつってる。
ライトじゃない？
トビとわがままあれなんだ、LGD の配信してるんだ。
あー、そうなんだ。あの二人が一番いいからな。こいつら誰だ？右側からだけしか モノラルだからすげえ判断
なんか
つきづれ
気持ち悪い。
ね。ちょっとこれは後で見よう。あれに帰ります。あ、俺の X ビデオが映されてる。危ない危ない。
どこで見んのバイオ。
腰つべ。
ここで見ないんだ。
いや、これで見たいけど、だって結局モノラルなのかな。
そうなんじゃないの？
ちょっとそれも含めて見に行くよ。
ってこよ。
ドタ2で検索しても出た。ストリーミングデータ C だっけ。
そうじゃねえか、右側からしか聞こえねえぞ。
カスかよ、この配信者。正気かよ。
したらば862番さん。
でもシークレットの試合見るんだろ？
だって
だってここしか応援するとこ今日ねえしって思ったけど、まあ C9 応援してもいいけど、エンビー様。
ダーナルエンビー、ブラッドシーカーの対応策見つけたからな。
何？
エンバースピリット。
本当に？
本当だよ。
シャキシャキシャキ。てんてれれんつって逃げんの？
エンバーの3番剥がせないし、ブラッドシーカー。普通にウルトラのダメージも食らわないし、レムナントだったら。
3番剥がせないっつったって、あれってバリアってマジックに対するバリアだから殴れんじゃん。
だって殴ったってマジックダメージないやん。
まあな。ああ、そういうことか、剥がせないって。
ブラッドシーカーのファーストピュアダメージだし。エターナルエンビーが確立させたよ。
あのインバーを倒すって。
証明されたから、ブラッドシーカーにはエンバーだって証明してたから。
どっかで勝ってたの？
いや、普通に野良やってるところでずっと勝ってたよ、ブラッドシーカーに。うわ、なんか緑のゴミ虫いる。フリーアジリティやスーパーパンチで死んでまう。
S4 に使わしとこ
これスキルないからね。 S4 楽だよこれ。
う。楽で S4。S4 が下手こかんなきゃこのチーム勝てるから。にしてもバイパーかよ。なんかね、バイパーかよって感じだな。面白いのグループステージとかやりたくないんだろうな。
勝ってくれるでしょ
ドタンの中で見たら絶対ガクガクだよな。でもあれどうやってなんないのかね。
コンプレキシムーンメンダーさんの試合見てるけどね。
メンダーどうなんだろうね。あそこもちょっと応援してんだよね。
コンプレキシ
メンダー的
フライじゃなくて
シンバ
シンバーじゃなくて、
もうだってフナティックの人たち応援するともうすぐ負けるしバラバラになるからもういいや。みんな固まってるならいいけどさ、あのメンツばらけちゃったからもう興味なくなっちゃった俺。シークレットだってフナティックがいたからもともと応援したのにさ、もういい僕 EJ 応援するって言ったらザイと RTG 来たからちょうどいいやっていう。
ザイと RTG でも消えたやん。
消えたって？
ザイと RTG シークレットに行ってしまったやん EJ から。
うん。だからちょうどいいやっていう。
お前が EJ 応援するって言ったからな。
そう、EJ 応援するってなったらシークレットができて、シークレット応援しようって思ったら、あれってなった。もうまたあの二人いなくなったけど、ザイと RTG プレイ好きだからいいやってなった。T4 ですごい EC には惚れてたからな。ザイには特に見てて面白かった。
この世からレシュラックとかいうヒーローを口ってくれねえかな。
なんか似たよ、上も下も似たような感じになってんな、これ。タスクとジャイロはあれだけど。人なのか人なんじゃねえのか分かんねえのお互い取った後に、パタパタ羽ばたいてるビセージとバイパー取って、
人型の女。
人型の女二人取って。何対決だよ、これ。
どっちの女が締まりがいいか対決。
ビントレンジャーかな。
コンプレキシーウィンターワイワン取った。インバ
ーンだからあれ。
ダズル取ってる MVP。
フナティックはな、勝てるかな。フナティックにも頑張ってほしいんだけど、ちょっとシークレットさんには中華をボコってもらわないと困るので、ここはフナティックさんに負けてもらわないと困るんですけれども。
フナティック中華じゃねえけどな。
違う違う、フナティック中華じゃないけど、シークレットとフナティックだったら中華ボコれるのはシークレットやろっていう。
フナティックあれやで。
マレーシアでしょ。
マレーシアやで。チームマレーシア。
チームマレーシアだからもともと。
お、C9 と、また C9 って LGD の試合始まったけど、
またって
また
こと
ザイルとタスクおる。ザイル、タスク、ノアがバンしてる。
ナーが今熱いのかね。何がどうましてやさ、この、ジャイロか。長サイレン合わせるやついなくね。
シークレットとか買って当然だからな。
どう使うんこの構成で。ジャイロのウルトに合わせるのはまああるにせよさ。パッとしなさすぎじゃない？
すごいなんか面白い構成してる、ね。
最後無理やりダークシアかぶせてきた。
無理やりザイ。
なんじゃこりゃ。確かにもうフレイいないからさ、まあ妥当だけど。なんだこりゃ。なんだこりゃ。
なんかパッチバンされてるやん。
誰？あ、ほんとだ。
フナティックだよ。
何してんだよこれ。適当なのかな。でもダークシア版は妥当だったと思うけど最後。俺ですらナーガ的に考えたし、シークレット好きだし。
クリスタルメイディンパッピーや、クリスタルメイディンパッピー。
きっちり育つやつだ。
かき氷でかき氷。
まあ、きっちり育つのはサイレンか。クロキーでしょこれ。なんか初めて見る構成だな。
キッキーズいない。
ちょっと不安である。
相手の方が意識高いやん。相手全員チーム画像フナティックやん。相手の方が意識高い。シークレット SO しかいないよ。
パッピーハテナってないね。
エビフライ。
エビフライぞ。
フライ逆だったわ。
さあエビフライ逆だ。
ゴー。
ウィッチドクターか。
アティジー。
おおすげえ埋まってく下が。
やっぱ KYXY か QOP。
あ、左右両方ついたよね今。
治った。
乗った。
X ドってみんなチャットで言ってる。
腰つけで見るかな。じゃあちょっとなんかね、
バイオ、あれだ、画像をあんま引き伸ばさなかったら、横に伸ばさなかったらちゃんと綺麗な形で見れるで。
画像を横に引き伸ばすとどういうこと？どこの画像？
画像っていうか、ブラウザーの横幅を広くしなかったらちょうどいい感じで見れるで、マジで。
あ、ほんとだ。俺の解像度の良さは一体
広げすぎた結果だった今の完全に。
いやこれワイド画面に対応してないんじゃない単純に。まあいいや、腰痛の方で今から見よう。全画で見てえし。せっかく
でもあれだ、チャット消して広くしたら割と。
あ、そっか。なんか俺落ちたけど。
俺も落ちたから大丈夫。開始されるの待ってるから。
ふざけんな。YouTube ライブで見るぞ俺は。
みんな怒ってる。What the fuck? パニック、パニック。怒ってる。俺はいいよ、このブラウザーで。あ、始まった。治った、治った。
治った。ちょっとブラウザで見たくなるよ、そんなこと言われたら。
これで俺は見るよ。
せっかくだし。
の平気だったし。
3だっけ
So in which case,
すごいアイロンシェルいっぱいついてる。
like you just lead the Viper there. You move
3
the
だよ
Crystal
3。
Maiden around. What do Fnatic need to do to actually put pressure on Team
その
Secret?
クリッ
Because
ク
I
しても
kind of
飛んで
feel
かねえ
like
んだけど。
they have to set the tempo in the first 15 minutes.
Yeah, I think it's not even the lineup thing. I actually really like
重い
Fnatic's
ぞ
lineup,
カ
but
ス
I feel it's
まあいいや
more just the fact
こ
that
こでワードは終わった
if you're Fnatic, you know you're
単
the
語食った
underdog coming into this game.
Yep.
And so I feel like against a team like Secret, especially the way to beat them is to set your own
YouTube
pace
の方
early
がちょっと
and
遅
wait
い
for
の
them to
か
get frustrated and overextend.
ムーンメンダー
I
ネイ
feel
チャー
like
プロフェッ
Muji
トや
is
っ
a
て
little
る
bit more disciplined in nature in that regard. I
ク
feel
ソ
like
キャラや
Muji
り
is
よ
a
る
team that will always have the comeback advantage, but I feel like Secret is the team that really relies on having just like a dominant lead.
All right, and as we get things going here, let's talk about Fnatic. We got Mushi playing the Wind Ranger mid up against S4's Viper. We'll see how that matchup goes. The top lane, we do have a defensive tri-lane. Ketchik Imba is playing the Visage. Johnny on the Witch Doctor, KYXY playing that Queen of Pain. And that just leaves Ohio as our off-lane Tusk, who is currently being zoned out quite heavily by Kuro. I did
飛ばね
like
え
this
んだ
early
けど
counter ward that he placed out.
くそさっき落とさなきゃよかった
And actually happened to spot
あ来た
out a early laning ward that Secret put out. So that actually is quite fortuitous for him, but is he actually going to be able to come forward in lane enough? Because it is a bit dangerous. Like Kuro can win the 1 versus 1 matchup, and then if he sticks around a bit too long and RTZ gets in range, he's going to
He
get
gets tanked by
rocket
Gateway,
barrage
it
down.
doesn't matter. Yeah,
And
this
he's
is the
got
old
or Arcane
alliance
Aura
strat too.
as
You just
well.
get a support
So he's able to
Naga and then
spam
give
out
a Torment Shield.
Riptides
And
more
because of her
often.
natural-
Top lane looks like Zai's going to be taking some damage. Not level 2 just yet. So the double slows are actually doing a good amount of work. Zai, I think, will survive. He's actually dropping very low here. A couple more
走って
right
逃げ
clicks
て
than
っ
they
た
would have gotten, but he is going to be forced into the potion. He still had Shadow Strike on him, so that's a big loss for Zai, which he means he will be forced back to base. Meanwhile, in the middle lane, we've got an even CS lead here for Mushi. He's just 1 deny up over S4. Of course, feeling a lot of pressure from Johnny. This is sort of a signature thing for Fnatic, though, right?
Yeah, they actually. I
あ
think
ヘル
somebody
ス
else
も見
pointed
える
it
のか
out
こ
too
れ
in
そうだ
when we
よ
were doing
ザイ
breakfast,
150しか
that
ない
this is how they
170
like to
あ
play
回復
今
this
回復してるね
as much as
泉だ
possibly
ね
can for future success.
すげえ
So
なこ
this
れ
isn't too surprising, but the thing is, it's a Viper and a Wind Ranger, and it's a lot less scary when you're a
とりあえず
Viper,
ラスト
right,
ヒット
against a
ディナイ
Wind
にしと
Ranger,
こ
because you just know that her kill potential is so low. And
う
something I
ムー
want to
シ
point
ー
out
と
that's actually
S4 と
really
か
interesting, and I was so glad to see
負け
this,
たわ
because if you
俺
notice Mushi's
バ
skill
イ
build,
パーだからな
like
でも
this is really different. He's opted to go for 2
さす
into
がに
Wind
な
Run this early on, and actually only a single level of Shackle Shot.
ボコ
Yeah,
ら
I
れや
really
し
like
ねえ
this
だ
as
ろ
well because I feel like you were talking about it. Like I didn't actually think about the low armor on the
今
Wind
な
Ranger, and that makes a lot of sense. But when I view the Wind Ranger Viper matchup, I look at it as
S4 やらかす
entirely
から好
right
きじゃ
click
ない
oriented for the Wind Ranger and more focused on
じゃあ
CS than
S4
anything
抜か
else.
して
So I
誰す
like
ん
this
の
stats build from Mushi,
S4
and
抜かし
I
て誰
think
だ
you
ろう
brought up a
ね
really good
ミッ
point,
ド
which
プレイヤ
was
ー
if you're playing this, you do not really want to be spamming out power shots. So the more right click focused you are, both when it comes to
ど
harassing
んなチームにも
S4,
ね
but also
やらかす
playing
カ
for
ス
CS, I
は
think
必
it's
要だ
just
よ
a better way to play this 1 versus 1.
そいつにそいつのせいにしと
I
けばいい
mean,
か
I
ら
talked about that before, how you don't want to spam power shots,
ナビ
but
の
it's still your
4 倒し
flash
てやる
farm
やめ
mechanic.
ろ
So that's the most interesting
黒木
part.
は
As a
4
mid
とか
player,
いう
I'm
やつから
actually
解
really
放されて
excited to see
楽しくサポート
how
やってる
this
よ
goes and how this plays,
誰
because
黒木
a lot of things are different right now for me. that
黒
I
木
don't
の
typically
キャリー
see.
うまいから
Like, if you
そう
see
そう
Mushi
そうそう
build,
そう
he's actually opted to go for 2
PA
tall
マ
towers,
ジう
and
まい
he's
のな
skipping the bottle entirely. Because
PA
I assume he just doesn't
最
need the
強
bottle.
時代に
Yeah,
うま
because
く
he's
使っ
not
てたよ
going
な
power shot, right? So he's not spamming it out. So he's focused more on his
これ
right click
LD?
damage. And right now, I
誰
mean,
だ
if you look at the damage difference, he's doing 77.
この声誰だっ
while
け
Viper's only doing 67. And when Mushi pops
LD
Wind
じゃないの
Run, like Viper's not doing any
LD だよね
damage to him. So he's actually just able
LD
to
こんな若い声だったっ
like
け
just really put pressure on Viper sometimes, or at the very least,
LD
マイク
easy
変えたのかもしれない
LD こんな若かったっけ
It's quite an even matchup so far. Take a look at some of the other lanes, though. We
集団
are
戦
having some pressure.
集団
Up here
戦
at
聞
the
けば分
top
かると
lane
思うけ
from
ど
Fnatic. They're going to wrap around now with Johnny. Zai, who is level 3, is hitting himself inside the trees, but he's going to be spotted out eventually, I think.
いや
Or
絶
not.
対体調整えてきたでしょ LD 声若いもん
So Zai actually managed to get a lot of experience from that wave and probably the next wave as well, since Johnny's not going to be in a position to catch him out this time.
Yeah, I think it was a little obvious that they were going for him because
Deep
you'll
color.
notice that you want to sandwich
Dun
him
dun
between
dun.
having a
Four
creep
da.
wave so you can
Huh?
dive under the tower.
トップ4だ
And Fnatic were just pushing the lane
や
like,
ばい
as fast as they could. Like,
ダイが
pretty much auto
ダイ
attacking
が
it
囲まれ
down.
てる
Now they're
どう
doing
するの
it
さすがにバッキン
because
も上げてねえ
they
だろ
want
か
to get
な
the tower down, but previously I think they were doing it to dive, and I think he
シ
saw
ェ
that
ルどう
coming.
にかすんのか
Yeah,
な
like even Ohio's rotated into this
だ
because
QP
he's
は
had such a rough time at
ファーム
bottom.
レーンか今思え
Because
ば
that's the thing
Farm
about the
lane
support
carry.
naga, right? Is that you just set up a hero like Gyro who's incredibly strong in the laning phase, just to
4
win
人い
the
る
lane,
んだけ
and
ど
then
つ
you
って
can
ザイが
rotate
困っ
the
てる
naga around to pretty much do whatever you want.
シェル
She
つけた
doesn't
と
just
ころ
have
で
to
どうしようも
secure
ねえしな
static in the lane, but
これ下の
first
シーク
tower
バー
of
っ
the
て
game
消え
is
な
gonna
い
go for Fnatic, and
え
I mean
あ
I'm
の
still just really
シー
fascinated
クバー
by
って
this
何
build from Mushi.
あ、なん
Like,
つう
he's
の
opted to go for 3 in the shackle shot.
ライブの
So
画
he's
面
not
の
gonna
シー
have
ク
the
バー
best flash harm
でしばらく
advantage,
画
but
面にカーソル動かさなかったら出てこなくなると思うけど
ファッ
3
クユー
seconds
バッ
sun off the bat at 5 minutes is pretty insane, but
Yeah.
you're
我慢し
really
よう
relying a lot on it. It almost feels all in to me.
これ
Yeah,
マ
it
ジいい
really does. Ohio's
な
gonna be caught here by Puppy. There's
結構
pretty
さ
much
しか
no
めっ面
chance.
で
In fact, if
見ちゃうし
anything,
な
Team
マッ
Secret
プ
may be the ones in trouble.
これだと
Catch
い
a
っ
game,
つも
but
クリオ
actually
センだから
completes
な
his TP
死
despite the fact
ぬ
that
これ
Arteezy's already gone for him. Big Nuke comes out and Arteezy drops low, but not low enough. Fnatic can finish him up, and now with a couple more flat cannon shots, they're going to be forced
帰れんの
back
これ
here. Ohio, who doesn't have mana. Mushi's here trying to trap Arteezy in. He eats his way through the trees, making
どうす
a
んのこれ
bit of a juke around, buys the rest of his items, and will end up going down to Ohio here.
惜しい
Ohio dropped
ヒ
pretty
ール
low,
なけり
but,
ゃな
Arteezy very obviously trapped due to good rotations out from Team Fnatic, and that's part of the advantage, right? When you put a little bit of all-in pressure in your safe lane and you take that tier 1 tower first, that leaves your supports or maybe even your core open to rotate mass to the bottom lane.
怖いお嬢ちゃん
He's
2人お
gonna
る
be
か
potentially caught here. Kuro doesn't quite yet have ensnare. Now he does. The mana gets laid out. Double stuns are
Egg.
power shot being laid in. Kuro's actually
スタン
dropped
時
pretty
間
low,
えぐ
but S4 comes in order to clean that last hit. Catch again.
何秒であの2人
TY は強いな
Killing out the
今やばかった
Rangers.
な
So, in the end, 2-1 advantage
はい
going to Team
どっち行っても
Secret
積ん
solely
でた
because of that pickoff there on Mushi before it actually seemed things were going Fnatic's way.
If you think about it,
The
the
secret
current
to
type of
Corsair.
heroes or the heroes that are played right now are incredibly mobile, and we're starting to see the prevalence
買
of
っ
heroes
てこ
like
くれね
Dazzle,
ば
Keepers
困
of
る
Light, things like that. And so people just don't really have a
TPM
heavy
にしとこう
focus on like supports that can
TPM
gank or
S4 ト
actually
ップ
get
じゃん
kills off, right? It's more just
で死んだから
just that
RTG
game,
が
try to get
3番目か
into team fights and just go for the 5-man push. But that's why I like
無視
the
出だし
Crystal
思ってる
Maiden
焦
and
げ
the
てん
Naga
の
pickup because there's actually no way that Mushi was
ワイパ
going
ー
to get
強い
out
も
of
んだ
that. Like they had
ワン
Ensnare,
ワン
they
最
had
強クラスだ
Crystal Nova, you've got
これボッ
the
ト
Frostbite
デ
as
ュ
well.
ーだ
There's just so many
だ
different
ま
ways to deal with the
あどうな
mobility
の
that Fnatic have.
タスク
Yeah, I was gonna say when you brought up like how good Crystal Maiden is versus the Queen of Pain because you can't actually
これシークバー消えないの
same
切れ
kind
そう
of single target
な
disable
んで
is
消えない
really good
す
against
ぐ
Wind
バグら
Ranger
せ
as
るから
well.
なワイヨくん
佐伯したから
前の趣味なの
Wind Ranger on the other team that was going to play the
俺
off lane,
iPhone バグっ
and
てる
you
から
just
今
pick Crystal Maiden because
バッテリーめ
you
っ
had
ちゃ
to
熱い
force
し
her into a position like that, but I'm just really
お
curious
ス
to
モ
know
ーク使った
what the thought process is behind not getting the power shot at all.
Did you see that?
スモーク使ったけどバレてるし見てる
Managed to spot out the
でも
double
死ん
smoke,
だ
but
け
it
ど
looks like
黒
Kuro
ザー
is
コン
going
か
to
い
go down here. He pops the images, is able to dodge some damage, but not quite enough. He gets some good damage.
どれ
on Johnny,
なんつった
but it's still going to be a free pickoff for Fnatic.
黒
Despite the fact that they scouted that one out, a bit curious. Maybe they thought that that smoke meant they were going to rotate around through the top part of the map to catch out S4 somehow, but that seemed to me at least a huge mistake from Team Secret.
It was probably just a missed call because I think they thought they could take that fight, but the Queen of Maiden ultimate is too high, and maybe they weren't entirely sure where things were going because at the worst you want to secure that Arteezy lives here. So I don't think it was the worst play, but I think it was a
キューピーがで
little
も
bit
随
of a
分動
mistake.
くな
Taking a look at both
そのためのだっ
supports,
て
there
ファー
is
ム
a
レー
smoke
ン
on Puppy
まあ
now.
ね
There is a level 6 on
で今のうちに
使い
If
に
you
行く
notice
ぐらい
that
に動
S4
かない
decided
と
to go for a 4 in the Corrosive
そう
skin,
だよな
and it just
そうだよ
hasn't paid off because the
Yeah.
Wind Ranger
で今のう
A,
ちにあい
is
つ
really
が
getting in a right click fight with him,
レベル
but
吸
he
ってんの
doesn't
か
have a power,
なんだっけ
a
あい
level
つ
of power shot
ビ
yet.
セッチ
So you think
Easy,
I
なんか
was
ジャン
kind
グ
of
ル買
thinking
ってる
about that, right? Like if you are going for a stats
あ、あれ見て
build
みよう
with more win run
ス
on
タッ
Wind
ツ
Ranger,
あ
does
の
that
よくわ
give
か
more
んない
incentive
バ
for the Viper to go for like less levels in corrosive skin and more on the right
おい
click
ス
of
タッ
his
ツ表示
own,
されてないんだけ
or
ど
because of the fact that Wind Run is getting a little bit extra levels in man
何これ
fighting so much,
平坦なんだけど
maybe the
あ、出てきた。
Defensive option is just better. I don't know.
なんなんだろうな、
ジャン
これ。
グルすごい跳ね上がってるわ。
corrosive skin. builds. Would you have preferred to see like earlier levels of Nether Toxin in that case?
ミッ
No,
ドレーン
because if Mushi hasn't thrown a
ジャン
single
グ
power
ル
shot
ほんと
this
ジャングル
entire
すげえ
game,
跳ね上がって
then
る
you
これ
realize
何
like
なんだろ
there's
う
no
な
point
ジャングル
in
買っ
going
て
for
た
the
からじゃ
Nether
ない
Toxin or the poison attack
Mhm.
because the poison
ど
attack
こ
is
ど
not
TG が
really
一
gonna
番上
make
に
a
なったじゃ
difference
んだっ
too
て
much whether you or not you level it against a Wind Ranger that has
今日はさ
あーこれ
same
そういうこと
the same goes
か
for the Nether Toxin, but
Okay.
レディアント側の方が
build,
そうだ
you know,
ね
like you grab Crossus skin, you get a
露骨に
mechanism,
RTC が一気に勝ったのか
you're
こ
the
れ
biggest hero in all of Dota. And if you look
あー
at
すれ違
Fnatic, their
っ
sustain
た
fight is actually not that strong.
Oh, catching out Ketchigimba from behind that
Nice.
tower. Four-man smoke is successful, but now RTZ's been
こっ
caught
からだ
by
け
at
ど問
least
題
that
は
shackle shot. Must have
強い
focused
な
fire. Looks like RTZ is going to be
RTZ
going
が
down. He drops out the call down before he
死
leaves,
ん
though.
だけど
Mushi's
ま
going
あ
to be the
やれ
target
る
of
ん
the
じゃ
Viper.
ね
Unfortunately, the Snowball unable to save him.
微妙
Another hero goes down, and perhaps a third is Zai deep behind the tower. Bakuro with the clutch save there of the Song of Siren in order to reset the fight and make sure it's just a clean 2 for 2. So in the end, despite the fact that Fnatic were the ones surprised by that gank and the four-man smoke up, it still was quite an even fight.
Yeah, I actually still kind of give the advantage there to
なかな
Secret.
かクソうぜえなあの
just
逃げ方
トイレ行ってくるわ
Like, I know I'm obsessing a lot over the Wind Ranger build. Maybe I shouldn't. But if you do go for this build without Power Shot, like, I think it's really cool. But at the same time, you have to be successful early game. Like, because you don't have a flash farm mechanic,
Like,
that
if you
means
just click
it's
on
gonna
her
take her
hero,
to,
her
like,
stats are
level
unbelievable.
12 to be able to max out everything, right?
Right.
She wants to get a
Just
second level
because-
to focus fire. So that means
I know I'm
she's
obsessing a
naturally
lot
going to be
over
far behind. And so it does rely on Mushi to have an early start that's successful to kind of pay off. Otherwise, you're just playing the catch-up game. But I really...
Again, the
ナ
Ward
テッ
once
クが
again potted out
逆
the
にスモークや
four-man
ってん
smoke.
な
Okay, and he's playing super far.
森
They
には
should be
誰もい
able to
ないけど
spot
RTG がボットレーンが下がってきてるな
He's
今
gonna
But to build on your point, like we also kind of agreed beforehand that this is sort of the way
勝ち合
that
いそう
Fnatic
だけ
operate.
ど
Like they need Mushi to do well. So it's not only
スモー
about
ク
the
に気
hero,
づい
right?
て
But
そう
it's
だ
also
な
the
警戒して
playstyle
る
of Fnatic that you can't afford to let Mushi get shut down because he is your big playmaker. He's the one who makes sure that Fnatic, if he's
シークは
doing
ク
well,
ソ邪魔なん
Fnatic
だよ
does
マ
well.
ジ
If he's doing poorly, I don't think I've ever really seen a game where Fnatic still come out on top.
Yeah, but I do like the fact that there's a heavy emphasis on putting as much pressure on RTZ. Like RTZ's typically left relatively uncontested, but the fact that Fnatic are continuing to go after him speaks a lot about the fact that they're playing to win right now.
Yeah.
They're not afraid to smoke deep into the jungle. They're not giving Secret the type of respect that most teams show them, and I think that's overall the right play. And the way that Fnatic are actually building their heroes too, I think both teams are pretty much gearing up for some sort of mid-game fight. Because if you notice that KYXY, instead of going for something
したらば
more typical like
865番さん
the
画面の外にカ
like
ーソ
the
ル
Dual
移動
Scepter
す
that
れ
we've
ば
been
いいん
seeing
じゃ
into
ない
the
の
acronyms or even like an early BKB, he's going for the bracer
Got.
into the Robe of the Magi. Which
You
would mean-
is got
I mean, that should mean that he's going to go for drums, right?
Yeah, unless
Oh,
he
top.
just wants a value bracer. KYXY is still going to have a blink. Oh, he couldn't even get it off in time. That was beautiful
みたいに
timing
減る
from Zai. Halfway through the blink animation,
シェル
you couldn't, like,
シェル
Zaki was
ダ
not
ブ
a
ルは
very
エ
long
グすぎるや
disable,
ろ
but if you can
ど
interrupt
んだけ
someone's
減るんだ
animation like that, he just extended that disable, the extra bit of half-second timing there that was required for the freezing field to do the damage.
Yeah, that was just so well
さ
played.
メイ
because
ン
it
な
resets
ん
the
だけど
animation.
十分
You
な
have
ス
to
タン時
recast.
間だなグリスタル
And
メイで
so, just a really good play by Zai reading the situation, but still, it is only the Queen of
Cool,
Pain.
cool, cool,
I feel like Fnatic are somewhat okay with that. No, they're not. That was their carry. He needs farm progression faster than this because
It would have been okay if Ketchigimba and Ohio were successful in their gank on Arteezy at the bottom lane, but that unfortunately didn't work out, despite the fact that they had a warden
TPM
everything.
は
Top
450
just
そろそろ
wasn't
いくな
able to get over
RTG
in time.
森ちゃんと借りれば
Ortiz has got
450いくな
drums. They've got a mech as well. I think this is the time
ワード
for
ぶっ
them to
刺してや
restart
る
the
から
map control. And if you're Fnatic, I almost feel as though you have to just get the level 6 onto Johnny and then look for smart fights. Like, right now, the pickoff potential for them isn't too high because their Teslas
それが
had
どう
such a
響く
rough
かって
start
感じか
in the early game when he got zoned out for so long.
Yeah.
So he has to be a little bit concerned about that.
何
And,
もう
four
試合決ま
staff's
っ
actually
た
going to be
決まらないかな
Zai.
Why do you think that is over the like
GP も今 RTG が450超えたね S4 も400超えてるし状況はいいけどパワー割れてるってのがあるからね単純に
and then the Darkseer goes for the mech, vice versa. What's the pros and cons between the two?
そっかバイパーがメカ行くから
Um,
ダークシェアは
is
一
actually
直
just
線でいけるの
naturally
か
worse. Like, Because the Viper,
Force
you
staff
want to be
持ってない？
able to stay naturally tanky in
フォ
these
ースス
fights,
タッフ持っ
and
て
you
る
don't
あ、
want
そうか、
to have
見りゃいい
to
のか。
rely on the Darkseer being nearby.
Okay.
I actually like the Force Staff because I think it just prolongs the fight as long as possible.
フォーススタッフ持ってる。
Fnatic are
なん
going
だ
to
こ
run
れ。
into a pretty sick timing where they're about to hit level 6 on Johnny. They're going to pick up a medallion on their Visage, and once that happens, Cap, there are options for them.
なんで
They
Force
can
Staff
do
なん
the
だ。
Roshan quite easily.
ま
They do have dire side for that, and
マナきつ
their
い
fight
し。
game
感じ
potential
か。
isn't too bad either. Like they've got drums completed on the Queen of Pain, but I do feel like with that timing, like you have to pretty much go non-stop. Like
Yeah.
she's gonna pick up a mech. Like these are the items that you need to pretty much get into fights.
But Wind
And I
Runner
feel
じゃん。
like with Fnatic, the way that they're building,
そうだ
you
ね。
pretty much have to get into fights.
Yeah, you said very early on that you felt like this Wind Ranger
こ
build
れは珍
was sort
し
of
い。
all
ドラム持っ
in-ish
てる。
in a way where you
アムレン
basically
給与
have
フィー
to
ルドラム
do
とか
well
珍しい。
in the early game, otherwise you don't have the power shot to continue far.
体力足んないって踏んだのかね。
Eventually fall
なん
behind.
なんだろう
And
ね
you're。seeing more and more elements of all-in behavior out from Fnatic. The like a
Well,
big
items
example
up to
being
me,
the
it's cool.
drums on the Queen of Pain. I feel that's very all-in because it's so early stat focused and will play a serious detriment later on. Ketchik Imba is maybe going to be caught out here. Call down does reveal him. Ketchik is going to be going down now as he has no escape whatsoever. So a smoke that is successful for Team Secret. But just to
ファイパー
finish
は
up
メ
my
カ行
point here,
っ
like the
て、
drums,
メカ
the
行ってか
ring
ら
of
アクイラ
assaults
行っ
like
てん
that
だ。
feels like very all in early game
全然ありなんだ、
focused,
やっ
and
ぱ
you
り。
need to get big dividends out of that stat item. And then the Wind Ranger going for the mech now means that if she doesn't manage to have good fights, hold up, Puppy's going to be the target of a snowball, quickly blowing him up. There's one, and it seems like they'll run away. They don't need to try and go for a second. They know Arteezy is somewhere nearby.
Yeah, I don't really. Maybe all-in isn't the right term, but heavily focused or heavily geared towards having.
Yeah,
the mid
heavily
game.
early to mid-game focused, and if you lose those early game team fights, you're naturally going to fall really far behind.
Yeah, I don't want people to think that or especially that I'm hitting on Fnatic or anything like that, or their items. Like, I think this is really interesting, and I think this is the right
本当は
approach
今
because
ド
I
ラ
don't
ム出来た
think
てか。
that against a team like Secret, you could
よ
just
くわかんねえ
see
な、これ
the
に
early
関して
game
は。
completely and hope that something like your late game pays off. I feel like
一番一度目なんだ。なんか2個ぐらい取るってよく見
yeah,
気が
but
し
again,
た
they
けど。
have to start doing it soon. Like what
Fine,
they're waiting on right now is
Huh?
pretty much Mushi to hit this
今
back
清め
timing.
だよ。
And for their supports to both get level 6. Like the Witch Doctor's level 6 now.
昨
You're
日
not
のワイル
really
ドカードの
seeing
給
too
与フィ
much
ールド
farm
全部
progression on the
清
Queen
め
of
やって
Pain. So I feel
So
like
not-
once Mushi picks up his mech, which is after this creep wave, they should just start running at them.
Arteezy pushing out the bottom lane with little fear. Fnatic not able to find an opening on him
俺を好きにしてん
for the
の。
last few minutes. Johnny, meanwhile, is doing a bit of farming up here in the top lane. Seems like he's got an early belt of strength to, I guess, finish up treads
TPM は
before he starts going up for the Aghanim.
5K
So maybe he just feels like he
有利
needs
か。
a little bit more tankiness, but he's going to be in some trouble here. Zion's going to try and run him down, but naturally the Ion Shell damage over time just doesn't pair well against a Witch Doctor who has a heal over time. So Fnatic are going to get into a fight here. The bottom lane, they've already actually retreated ahead of the Naga Siren Sleep. Ketchigimba trying to get the TP out, does get revealed. Oh, the song actually caught him there before the TP could complete, and Ketchigimba will be going down. But I would say Fnatic, that could have been so much worse. A quick retreat managed to make sure that they didn't get completely initiated on by the Kuro ultimate.
The problem there was I think they wanted to get into a fight before they could, but Mushi didn't have the mech completed to
な
him,
んか
and
学ぶ
Johnny
と思
shows
ったら
himself
なん
at
か
top.
黒木すごいからな。お
So
金
Secret know that
なん
at
か生み出
worst
し始める
it's
から。
a 4v5 fight. But Mushi was showing himself mid prior to that as well, so I think it was just a little bit of miscommunication by Fnatic, because they should have ran, I think, just 5 seconds earlier and they would have gone out scot-free. But a good catch by Kuro, just preemptively throwing out the Song of the Siren out, and they're able to bring down not too big of a hero. Like, it doesn't slow down Fnatic's plans, I feel.
Right. Yeah, they're still going to go
ジ
for
ャ
this
ング
tier
ル
1
差は凄まじい
tower.
な。
Maybe presuming that Team Secret have rotated out, they do have some vision of these heroes, but it seems a lot more on just presumption that after one fight like
300
that,
って何の差なんだろう、
tier
で
1
も。
tower push, they naturally
TPM
rotate out.
300ってことかな。
Blink Dagger's now up for Ohio, so he's got
何が
some
この何
initiating
レーン
power
ご
to
との
himself.
グラ
Mushi
フ。
has that mech and
単位が
phase
100
boots.
と
I'm
か
presuming
300
you
とか
go
なん
for
だ
the
よね。
Aghanim Scepter next
誰
because
が
you still want to build Wind Ranger
だから
into
グラフの
more
単位。
damage, but it also means that you've actually got a really nice stats build
TPM
where
差が
you're really
ってことか
tanky
な
as a
っ
Wind
てい
Ranger
う
when you've got both Ags and Mech, or at least, you know, tanky for a Wind Ranger anyway.
Yeah, this was the
だって
old
ジャ
school
ングル
build
で
that we
稼い
used
だ
to
お金
see,
だと思う
but
普通
it's
に
kind of fallen out of
え、
popularity
なんか
because
ゴール
of
ド
the
って
lack
こ
of
と？
damage that she puts out.
それだと差がつかなさすぎじゃない ?300、さっきの試合も、だって、
I
野良
like
の
it.
試
I
合も
think that this is
300
the
と
correct
かだ
idea.
って差が。
ゴール
I
ド
think
GPM なんかな
Fnatic could execute a
GPM だ
little
と
bit
ガ
better,
ッてつくか。
but I think overall their
こ
game
のジャイ
plan
ロの借り
isn't
方
bad
見てると全然
whatsoever.
あり得
They
る
have
気が
so
するんで。
much team fight on their team, and I feel like the correct play now that you've got pretty much all your core items,
ただラ
is
ス
to
ヒ
just
ット
march
ではな
down.
いですよ。
Because if you look at the way they build, nobody has a Midas or anything like that. There's not a whole lot of late game potential, so I feel like Fnatic are almost forced into a position where they should go into a fight. But I
Yeah.
feel like this was their strategy to begin with, just looking at the item choices alone.
But once again, they're backing down from that fight. I'm getting more and more concerned that we are talking about how Fnatic are wanting to be able to force a fight, at least with their item build and everything. We get this feeling like they're focused on those 15, the team fights that are 15 to
18分目
25
かって
minutes
考えると
to
なん
kind
かパ
of
ッと
win
しねえな。
the beginning of the
別に
mid
遅かねえんだけ
game,
ど。
that sort of area that can be so
試合
important
内
in
容
the
的
current
に
meta.
遅いよな。
And we're not seeing them force those
18
fights. And as
分なら
time
バイオで
goes
もできそうじゃ
on,
ん
Secret
Yes.
are getting more and more of a net worth lead on their 3 cores. So you look at the Viper and the Gyrocopter, they're way
す
far
ごい
ahead
勢いで逃
of
げ
the
た方がいい
Fnatic
よ。
cores.
Yeah, the score is only 7 to 5, but if you take a look at the difference in net worth, it's almost 10k. Like it was like a really sneaky 10k too. But
サイがなん
if
か
you look at
GPM
S4's
叩き
build
出し始め
alone,
た
like。I was talking about how Fnatic didn't have any Midases or they didn't have build-up
だって
potential.
ザイも
Like
誰
look
に
at
も
what
邪魔さ
S4
れてないもん
decided,
今
but he decides to go for the Hannah Midas.
今
because
平
he
和な
realized
世界
that,
生き
like
生
even
き延びてるからね
リ
ザイ
ッチドクターが頼む
was
って言いなが
faster
ら妨害し
than
て
I
る。
was, like recognizing in the game, okay, they don't really
まあ
have
こ
a
っから
whole lot
ね
of
どう
late
せ
game
クローキー
potential,
の
so
中
why
が
not
ね
just
なんか
go
グ
for
ラ
the
フ上
safe
がっていく
route?
から
I've got the mech, and now I can force Fnatic into a position
あ、で
where
もスタッ
they
クしまくってる気がする
overextend.
けどね。
But I
見て
think
る感じ。
Fnatic are kind of doing things the right way. Like, as weird
た
as
ま
it
に自分で
sounds,
買ってるから
it's
クロ
just
ー
how
キー
they had to get active sooner or
い
later.
や、ジャイロのからしてんじゃないのこれ。
I feel like if you get active and you throw a fight against a team that has a Midas and a Gyrocopter, then the potential is there for you to just straight up lose. So you have to be patient. You have to look for
Right.
that one really smart engagement. It can't come at like the 40-minute
いったー。
mark, but having it done 1 or 2 minutes later probably doesn't
シー
make
クレッ
too
ト
big
慎
of a
重派な
So
の
the,
その
the
的には。
idea being that yes, this
リ
is
スナー
the
が
way
言って
they
る。
built. They
慎
need
重
to try
派
and
なの
force some sort of early game team
そうなの
fight, but
知らない。
don't
わ
force
か
the
んない。
wrong
ド
fight,
タの
right?
慎
Like
重
we
って何
haven't
なのか
seen
わかん
an
なくない
opening where
勝てるん
Fnatic
だったら
had an advantage and
う
then
ん、
walked
それで
away.
勝てるんだった
It
ら俺
was
は構わ
always
ないと
Team
思うし。
Secret were set up in a very
だ
good
って
position.
さっきの
Problem
だっ
is
て
now as
そうだ
time
けど
goes on,
セ
it's getting
セ
worse
カンド
and
とファース
worse.
トの間
Now
言ってたじゃんミッ
Roshan,
ドの
ね、
both
そうだ
Team
ね。あれは
Secret
結
and
構、うん、
Aegis
アグレッ
being
シブだ
picked
と思
up.
うし。
This means a big advantage for the next 5 minutes and a big advantage for the next 30 seconds as Ketchigimba gets caught right outside the Roshan pit as well.
Yeah, that's definitely their idea, is to just not take the wrong fight. But at this point, they're just not taking any fights, and so the
Yabai.
net worth advantage
ダイ
continues
タン
to
が
build in favor
ダイ
of
タンが
Secret,
ペロられる
who are
ダイ
just
タン
Perorare
が
na.
going for the late
ペロら
game.
れた
Like just Arteezy will build towards
Punch.
a satanic.
やばいクリスタル
Oh.
ゲームの後になんかペロら
That
れた
was a big burst of damage.
Kore ga-
Probably going to go
これ
down
が
as
慎重
well,
派だっ
it
ていうの
seems.
か
Nice little double kill there for Ohio. And
俺
that's
ミスだけど
something
どうに
really
かなるやろ
important,
みた
right?
いな。
Fnatic, it's really bad that they gave up Roshan and gave up that Aegis
まあそ
because
こに
it means that
あん
they
ないると
still
思わん
can't
わな。
force a fight, right, for another 5 minutes, or if they do, it's a very risky one to fight into an Aegis. But if the Aegis is
死んだのが
already
奴隷
there,
二人
then
で
the
よかった。
plan is you gotta
いや、
get
ザイは
pickoffs
奴
like
隷じゃ
that.
ねえよ。
ダイは
A
奴隷
double
ではない
kill is exactly what Fnatic needed. They put some pressure on that tier 2 tower as well.
RTZ
And
の旦那
start
が死んだってよかった
continuing the item progression of the Queen of Pain. That Aghanim Scepter is going to be a little bit late than normal, but that is, of course, because she went for the drums build first.
Yeah, and I think Fnatic are completely adapting to the game right now, because if you notice that Mushi, he's got a Mithril Hammer, so he can go one of two ways, the Maelstrom
伊
or
沢
the
君、
Death
この
Zone. I
配
think the
信、
Maelstrom
こ
is
の
more
ゲームが終わ
likely,
ったら速攻寝るん
just
で、僕
because
ま
of
ず
the。type of damage
バイ
that
オ
変なことになるんで。
and yeah,
うん。
because he's just going for farm now. Like he hasn't participated in any fights. Like, he's been 1-2-0 since minute 12, I think, since I started tracking it. And so for the last 10 minutes, all he's done is farm. And I think that's the correct idea here. They're not trying to overforce anything. And if you take a look at the Tusk build too
今
on
のスタッツ
Ohio,
が見れるのか
he's
な
opted
イ
to
ン
go
ビ
for
ジ
the
かどう
Shadow
かとか
Blade. So I think this is more of a let's look for pickoffs now. The
さ
moment
す
of
がに
time
無
has
理。
passed where we can just put this heavy amount of pressure in the
全
mid
部見
game,
ちゃう
especially with the Aegis gun.
シャドウブレード
So
持ってるっていう
I
事
think
実
this
さえ
is
分
the
かれば
correct
いいや。
response. Like go for
インビジだな。
pickoff potential and look for things of that nature rather than just all-inning or anything like that.
Yeah, and that's why they gave up the tier 2 tower here in this middle lane. lane. They don't want to try and go into a team fight, even if it is around their own tier 2 tower, simply because that Aegis is still up. So Ohio's quick to try and push out that bottom lane, but he's going to be forced into a rotation back. Team Secret,
これ
knowing
サー
that
ド攻めるの
Fnatic
か
really don't want to take a team fight right now, are going to take it to Fnatic's front door. They already go
行く
uphill,
ね
focusing now on that tier 3
食ら
tower.
った
Team
しえぐい
Secret
の
do get a very nice
大
shackle
丈夫
shot
か
as well as an ice shard to
まあ
kind of
イギリスあ
keep
るし
them in a bad position.
あるけどよ
Again, these two very tanky heroes are not going to be taken lightly.
ある
RTZ,
けど
a
よ
bit of damage coming out. Fnatic are just kind of poking
仁王
and
立ちする
prodding,
ね
hoping to be able to bring RTZ low enough that they can kill him while he still has that Aegis, but not commit to a team fight.
クリープ溶かすウ
I
ル
think
ティ
that they just back off, or maybe
Kind
even go
of.
for a fake back because they have a smoke. Like that power shot just misses, but Puppy actually just shows that he wants to completely back. They're not really getting what they want out of this because Fnatic can just infinitely hold by
2
spamming
分しかねえ
themselves.
ぞ
So it's gonna be
26 分
way too
50秒
difficult
で
for
切れる
them
ぞこ
to
れ
high ground breach at this moment. And really, there's no reason for them to risk it at all. Like I think Aegis in general is an item that makes teams a little bit too overconfident. But if that gyro is caught out of position, like even with the Aegis, they could just blow him up, right? Like a good death ward
ス
positioning
モー
makes him
クトップで
play
ザイが
defensively, and if he gets shackled, like anything can happen.
ザイ
So I
が
think the better play there is just to reset.
ザイ
It's a pick off,
が
and that's exactly what's going to happen.
Popped.
Is Ohio at top.
Yeah, he's going to be going down quite easily. The Walrus Punch leading things off, so the three-man smoke gang finds Ohio yet another kill. Talking about Fnatic and how they're falling a little bit behind in net worth, but Ohio is the one leading the charge here in net worth, at least for his team, sitting at 9k, still
オハイオさん
12k on the
GPM
Viper,
稼いできま
13
したね
on the Gyrocopter.
ジャイロ
But, of
500
course,
突破したけ
one
ど
good, really good team fight for Fnatic, and they can actually even out this advantage, or at least bring it pretty close.
Yeah, and something to say for Fnatic's lineup at the same time is that a Crystal Maiden starts to fall off a little bit in terms of her disables too. Like if you notice, she only has a single level of Frostbite, so that's only a 1.5 second disable. And they have ways to deal with the net because you can blink dodge the animation. Like there are ways to deal with it.
They
So
know.
Fnatic actually have really mobile heroes against a lineup that doesn't really have the best catch potential.
嫌なタイミン
So
グ
I
飛ん
think
で
they're
くる
going to be
な
pretty pleased with this, and they might even go for the attempt on Artesia top. Like Ohio's in position right now. They might just want to like force the BKB and go back. And it looks like
ど
they
う
are
せ死んだところでエリスなくなるだけだから
There's no
どうでもいい
more
から
vision.
な
Like, they know he's
今の
completely alone. Like Ohio, once he spots this midway line, he's
Oh,
gonna know this
切れるしな。
isn't a smoke or anything like that
切れるし。
at the same time. So
完
maybe
全
this is
に
the
確
attempt
定
to
ディナイだよな
The only potential bailout would be S4 as the Viper sitting farther
切
down.
れたんじゃね
RTZ
これ
is gonna be targeted here as, he
切れては
already
ない
takes some
まだ
damage from
これ
KY
切れるの
as well.
待ちだ
To be able to burn that BKB
えぐ
already. KY
えぐえぐえぐ
S4 is now coming over as well.
切れた
Side,
の
they're gonna try and
待ってから
blow off
調子かけ
RTZ,
て
but
く
there
る
goes
よ
the mech and actually
Oh!
keeping it and he's not even gonna go down. He's getting healed enough. He lives with just 20
Oh my God,
HP. The
unfortunate.
Maledict is there. The BKB
She-
runs out at the last half second, and the
Nah.
Maledict will kill him in the
死んだけ
end.
ど
So they
さ
actually do
死んだけ
manage
ど
to
さ
pick him off because his Aegis expired
い
there.
や
お前らが
As the fight
お前らが
transgressed,
待つ
but
というなら
it was still a 3 loss
マジで
there
今
for
切れた
Team
瞬間しか見
Fnatic.
たからな
Not really
ね
close to
時間
one
見てん
kill
な
on RTZ.
Yeah, they were
きっち
trying
り
to
秒
time
単位
that
で見て
Aegis
ん
out,
だ
and with this
タスク露
ward,
骨
they
に落
didn't
ちたもんね
actually see them
今
run through. But everyone was in position, and this might even mean that Mushi's dead. He doesn't have any defensive items.
えぐ
If he just gets
絶対
ensnared
に
with
おる。
S4 in position, this should mean a death. He already recognizes that. He's just gonna go for the tower.
Oh,
And then he
TP's
might actually get
out.
out. Oh!
絶対におる。
No, the vacuum is there. Mushi now turns for the tower. He gets it in the end, so he gives up his life. That dying breath does get up that last shot.
Puppy
Meanwhile,
頑張って
Puppy goes for the
プッシュ
tower
した
of his own in the top lane. Does
Puppy
manage to
頑張ってプッシュ
snag it
絶対にお
before
る
Magic Imba can
絶
hit the
対
tower.
におる
Yeah, but a good. I really like that.
今の
Fnatic decided to go for
RPG え
that.
ぐかったな
The kill on
メダリオンがなんか
RTZ
も入ってて
there was just
いろいろ
such a fast
バフが入り
rotation
ま
by
くってたん
Secret.
だ
There
ろう
was
なと
almost no chance for them to be able to respond. But I feel like Secret, they're still in firm control of
に
this
し
game.
てもよ
The net worth advantage alone tells the story, right? Like I've been
Yes.
trying to talk about a lot of what Fnatic is
ワン
doing.
チャン生きてたしななんで死んだのあれ
That's
キョピ
mainly
ー
because
ドクターのカース
S or
ああ
Secret's
カス
plan-
か
plan
そりゃ
is
減るわ
clear,
な
and they are
あんだけ
leading.
瞬
いや
間ダメ食らっ
BKB
たら
使ってたら減らないけ
I
ど
feel
最
like
後
it's
の最後
more
だけ
interesting
ああ
to
そっ
talk
か
about
そういう
what
ことか
Fnatic
Yeah,
are
it's-
doing to try to get back into the game.
It's more interesting to talk about the struggle
Well,
because you do
tiny
see
na.
Team Secret building more and
Go
more of an
rise
advantage.
for-
A Fnatic will find a serious pickoff here on S4,
Ora.
but he's tanky as all hell. Ohio actually has to pop the Shadow Blade and start packing himself up for
Go rise
fear of
for-
trading one for one. But in the end, the three-man gank is successful. Nobody lost on the side of Fnatic, and a very important kill. In fact, that one kill was worth 728 gold for the Witch Doctor, who does actually almost have Aghanim
Oh,
Scepter. That
boy.
is a
Scepter
gigantic
できるな。
change in power potential for Team Fnatic in these team
う
fights.
ん
Yeah, I know the net worth reads 10k, but if anybody, you've been playing Dota for long enough, you know that that Witch Doctor ultimate can completely change your fortunes. We talked about it in the early game last time, right? Or early on in this game. And so I think that it can completely change the fight. You've got an Aghanims on your Queen of Pain, and Ohio's just doing absolute work with the Shadow Blade because Puppey, he's just avoiding Puppey because he realizes that Puppey will most likely have sentries in areas that he's going to traverse through. And so if you notice, like anytime Puppey shows himself in mid, then he just goes top, and vice versa. Like he just tries to annoy the hell out of Secret.
バタフライか。
We've got Shiva's coming in soon for Zai's Darkseer, Gyrocopter about to pick up the butterfly. So we're getting to the point in time where now Team Secret's farm is getting to a point where they're all getting that first really big late game item. Butterfly for Gyro, the Shivas is huge for Darkseer, I would say. I mean,
RTG あれ好きだよね。愛想が。
強いもんだって。
そうよね。本だとあれだけみんな撮ってたのに、ドターとなんかプロでも全然あれ撮ってるの見ないから。うるうるってみんな言っちゃうからな。なんかできてるザイ。
Only really on the Wind Ranger, and then that's going to be slowed down quite heavily by things like the Shivas.
Yeah, and Ohio at this bottom lane again, potentially just trying to harass out. I think they're just trying to force rotation towards him, but I think Secret are just going to ignore this and decide to go for this bottom lane, this tier 2. And there's actually no vision from Fnatic, and they're rotating down this Queen of Pain, and KYXY is going to get spotted out by Puppey. And
Ohio, he did get spotted out. Now he's going to try and make a snowball play, but it looks like he is stuck 100%. So Fnatic will lose their Tosku.
完全に今ヘイスト調子乗ってたろ。
But will falter a bit more now. Team Secret well set up, I think, to be able to take that tier 2 tower in the bottom lane.
だって得られるもんなかったからな、おはよう。
By Fnatic, you should just scramble, start to pressure out this top lane because you know what Secret's game plan is going to be. The reason they're saving this tier 2 tower
RTG マジでスタッツ上げるの好きだよ
why they're
ね。
marching down right now is I think you just go for this tower and then go for the Roshan immediately after, and then you've got high ground potential for the bottom lane at the same time.
Right.
And you've got pretty much everything you want, but at the same time, Fnatic is still building correctly. Like if you notice that Mushi's response, even before RTZ completes anything, is to go for the MKB. Like he's actually just completely deviating from the norm, and I think this is the correct way. Like he's adapting to the game rather than just simply saying, "I'm going to go all in to get the Aghanim Scepter," right?
Yeah.
Like he realizes his damage output really relies on being able to get an MKB against a team that has both a solar crest and the butterfly.
Yeah, otherwise it would just be a very simple setup where Team Secret would 5 man into Team Fnatic's base and put both the Gyrocopter with an Aegis and a Viper, uphill beating on the tier 3 tower, and you have to deal with them, otherwise they're going to take out your building. So you have to be able to get some sort of damage to deal with that evasion. And even just dealing with evasion is not going to be enough because the Gyrocopter and the Viper are still significantly tanky without that. So I think Mushi's has the right idea, but Fnatic are going to need a little bit more damage than just that. And that, of course, is where the Aghanims of the Witch Doctor is going to come in. He does have his level 2 ultimate, and that is quite significant. It looks like Ohio is going BKB.
変な当たりをしたくはないは
Or is
ず
he
だけど。
going like a Desolator just to try and increase the single target focus of, say, the Wind Ranger? Like he goes in, punches the Gyrocopter, and that allows Mushi to get a lot of focus fire damage.
I feel like you still need to go for the BKB against Secret's lineup. Like there's just too
バ
much that
ック
can
ス
deal
タ
with.
ブや、これ。
Fnatic are going for the
行くか
smoke round. They know that the entire team is there. This might actually be their best shot at winning a fight, but they have to do
バ
it
レ
quickly
てん
because
じゃねえでも
Secret
これ。
are beating on these
バ
tier 3s,
気づ
and
いて
this
んじ
might
ゃ
not
ね
even be an advantage because they'll have their own.
黒
They're gonna go first for Crow, immediately taking him out. There is gonna be no Song of Siren to be able to save
で
them,
も
but
黒
already
が死ん
the
でこれ
response
な
is
ら
there from Zion.
ですよ
Back
ね。
while on top, both
Oh, this
Ohio
Death
and
Ward,
Ward.
though.
Oh no, he's gonna go down.
This
The
son
freezing
is
field
good.
is being laid out. Death Ward though, he's
止まらん。
focused on S4,
止ま
but
らん。
he's just too tanky. He
止まらん。
doesn't care. He soaks up all the damage,
危ねえ。
and now here comes the buyback. Mushi is the first one. Tusk as well lays out his. They
ね。
need more pickoffs. They need to be able to catch
疲
Team
れてたね。
Secret, who are on the retreat now, but
怖え
it doesn't look like they're gonna
怖え
find
今全
anything.
滅あったな
So
今。
really, the only
普通に。
thing that Team Fnatic truly recover.
うわ
TZ gets caught here.
それはいかん。
Kind of playing a small game with him,
黒来てる。
but yeah, he can't commit. They managed to take away the gem because they managed to pick off Kuro
バ
first,
ックしたよ
take
な、で
him
も今。
out,
スタ
make
ッ
sure
フ
there
に。
was no Song of Siren set up, and then they immediately had the buybacks. They recovered the gem,
Buybacks
which
だ
I
よ。
think is
したね。
significant enough.
ねえねえ。
Not maybe not worth
あわ
the buybacks out from
MVP
Team
と
Fnatic,
あれ
but
の
it
試
does
合
give
で
you
は
some recovery and it gives you some signs of life.
Yeah, the problem is that if you
Gaga
lose that many buybacks, you pretty much have to go for some sort of objective, just so you
30
don't fall
分っ
too
てとこ
far
でしょ、向
behind.
こうも。
And this might actually
33
be a decent scenario for them where they
ラ
get
デ
the
ィマン
Roshan,
タお
but
二
they
人
have to get
Yeah,
this. They
but-
can't really lose this fight or get caught out because both buybacks are on CD. Fnatic is getting quite low.
CPM644
Mushi's gonna pop
いったぞ、
the
これ。
run and get out of here, but it doesn't really look like
S4 が
Secret
捕
can
まえられ
continue
な
to
い。
chase.
う
Nice shots blocked
わ
about S4. Well, no, he gets back to his team. Team Fnatic are not going to try and go for that pickoff. It would have just put them in a bad position, committing a bit too heavily. So I like what they did there. I actually felt like, yeah, recovering the gem was not enough, but recovering the gem and then actually getting Roshan and picking up the Aegis and not losing anybody after that, I think almost makes the buybacks worth it. I think Fnatic are going to be very happy with the way that played out.
Yeah. I don't think you're happy with using buybacks because like if you lose this fight then you're gonna lose so much. But
Yeah.
it was like they made the best out of a bad situation. But Secret, I mean, they're just so dominant in their farm right now.
Ooh, nice ice shards. Arteezy stuck in a bad position, but there goes that Song of Siren. And Arteezy will be able to get away. Brought down to 800 HP in such a short period of time. They're still going to have the ultimate out from KYXY. Arteezy drops lower. But now here comes the back. Call down. They're going to be able to catch one and a second as the Aegis falls. Johnny, meanwhile, throws out that Death Ward, doing a good amount of damage, but it's still not enough to finish off any one hero. S4 on the front lines. Mushi is going to be forced to try and take him out. Great shackle shot that locks down S4. A bit longer. We'll be able to get that kill up between the ensnare and the damage of Arteezy. The Wind Ranger falls once again, and Team Secret are now left with predicament of whether or not they want to claim that melee ranks for their own.
Yeah, and I think
あそこでビビらず突っ込めんだもんな。
is also still in the buyback hold penalty. She's not going to have
あれ、クリープラーって3番飛ばしたんだよね。
so her
フォロー
dying
MMR
would effectively end the
7.5
game for Fnatic. So they're just trying to scramble, stay alive whatever they can.
あー、あれ、キヨピ
Arteezy
ー
with
食らう
all the urn
と。
is already at full HP. And that did look
キョ
like
ッ
a
とするとこだ
deceptively
け
good
ど。
fight for Fnatic because Arteezy dropped so low. S4 was already quite
普
low
通
and you
に
had the
殺しに
Aegis,
行ってるもんな。
but they're unable to capitalize and Secret just outlast them because the amount of farm that they have.
Yep, Zai is always able to get great counter initiations, and
マジチーム
Arteezy,
シ
even
ークレ
if
ッ
he
トは雑
did
魚に
drop
見え
to
る。
like
チームシー
200
クレット
HP,
じゃ
it
ねえ
doesn't
や。
matter.
マレー
Pops a
シアが
flat。cannon, is able to get all those shots off, and because of his significant amount of damage that he's rocking right now, it just is so much physical damage that Fnatic can't really recover from there. So, 2 sets of Rex is the cost for Fnatic losing that team fight in the middle lane, and they continue to fall farther and farther behind. Team Fnatic almost seem to need to do something drastic now to hope to recover this game.
Yeah, I think part of the issue, if
もう寝てもいいやつだ、これ。
you want to go back to the early game, is
2
the
万
way that they
5000っ
picked
て。
both of
ネ
their
ット
supports.
朝。
Like, you've got a Witch Doctor and a Visage, but both are heroes that really heavily rely on having that Aghanim Scepter at a reasonable time. Johnny, you can argue, got his at an okay time, but Ketchuk Imba is actually
スタッ
a
ツ
little
めっ
bit
ちゃ
too
売
far
っ
behind.
てる。
Like, getting a 45-minute
RTZ
Visage
まあ
Aghanim
セカンド
Scepter
取ってない
at
から
this
ね
point
ス
probably
タッツ
doesn't
するや
matter
ろ
too much, just because Arteezy's got a
MKB も
butterfly.
もうできてん
Black
だ。
Cannon takes him out so quickly.
36
And that's
分
the
でこ
issue
の
is that
装
you
備
have two
か。
supports that both need farm, but you can't really evenly
ザイ
distribute
も
it.
トラベル買
But
っ
you
てる
do need
し。
all 3 stuns to be able to do anything, and I feel like their momentum is just kind of fizzling out more than anything.
Now we've got more luxury items coming in. Boots of Travel being picked up by Zai's Darkseer. And then on top of that, even the support has something to go on here. Ohio is maybe going to be caught out here. The vacuum pulls him back into the call down. They have the vision to be able to catch him out. So Arteezy now jumps into a dominating streak. They lose Ohio. And that's right, the other item I wanted to talk about was the BKB from Puppey, who now has this level 3 freezing field. Especially with the way that that ability was buffed up. This is going to be a significant increase in damage for Team Secret, especially since Fnatic do not have any real good ways to stop Puppey from using that freezing field. Pretty much the only way is the Tusk Walrus Punch.
Yeah, now that the Tusk is dead, they're going to feel pretty comfortable about this. And Puppey's actually just going to snake around and try to get in a better position, but there are 2 sentry wards up there, so he has to be careful. And Fnatic are kind of stuck in a rough situation where they don't have buybacks where they really desperately need them, because this is the game losing fight or winning fight potentially for them.
Mushi comes in from the side, hoping to be able to shackle both Arteezy and
シャックル
S4
入らないん
together.
だ
Meanwhile,
な。
Johnny actually gets caught. He was hiding in a copse in trees, but Kuro managed to actually
悪い
find
ことした。
him.
いつ
They
ドクタ
take
ーぶっ
out
殺し
Johnny,
た。
who's going to be a primary source of damage, or at least was supposed to be for Team Fnatic. But now he's down for 45 seconds. Kuro pops the Song of Siren, leads with the ultimate, and is now just giving his time to complete Mega Creeps. That is an 8-second hold. And now Naga Siren, while she is very far forward and will be sacrificed, it does come at the cost of Mega Creeps, and a really bad fight for Team Fnatic as they still get vacuumed up. Wall call down, and the combination is
黒バイ
just
ト
too much to handle. Team Fnatic,
お休みバイト。
even underneath their fountain, don't stand a
GG
chance, and Team Secret will
ピオ
take
3 で
game
しょ
number
これ
one.
いや、3 だ
Yeah,
よ。
this was
負
just,
け
it
な
wasn't the
いや
flashiest
ろ
victory, but it was just efficient by Secret.
なあこ
Like
れ
Fnatic, they had a pretty good idea of what they wanted to do.
見出
You
すか
could
って
see
る
that
スタイ
there
ル
was a game plan with the way that they built items and
このシャドウフィール
the
ドかっ
way
こ
that
いい
they
など
built
う
their
ぞ
heroes, but it just didn't pan out for them because they lost
Hey,
early control so
boy.
quickly, and they just
Hey,
weren't
Queen,
able to
side
get
with you,
any
right?
towers down. And I actually feel like Secret, there were a few slip-ups, but it didn't even end up mattering because their farm advantage was just so huge.
So Team Fnatic going to take some time to rethink perhaps their approach in game number one. We'll be back after a short break.
よし食物
おやすみ。